Hi, I'm Les Wilson. Welcome to the Boca First Bike Advocate channel, where we talk about issues regarding Boca Raton's bike infrastructure. Today, we're going to change topics a little bit and talk about e-scooters. I'm sure you've seen them around. With me is Amy Lang, who is not only an e-scooter driver, but also a cyclist, and she serves on our Citizen Bike Advisory Board. Amy, thanks for coming on the channel.
Thank you, Les. Thanks for having me.
Right away, we're not talking about an electric Vespa or something. When we say e-scooter, we're more like talking about a skateboard with a handle.
Yes, this is my e-scooter. It's very light. It's very easy to drive, and the charge lasts a really long time. I can go pretty fast on it, but I choose not to. What I like about it is that I can actually go really, really slow, which makes handling city situations and pedestrian situations much more comfortable.
How does the law treat you? Are you a pedestrian or are you a cyclist?
I feel like it's like a gray zone. There's not really a lot dealing with the e-scooters here. It's a challenging topic internationally right now because it's this new micromobility that has entered the transportation world. So it's a great option for getting around, and it's a great stopgap measure to use because things are kind of spread out. So it allows you to shorten distances while still feeling like a pedestrian.
Right, so you may need to go a distance to do an errand in Boca because of our structure.
Yeah, an e-scooter shortens that distance, and you feel it's a sensation more like walking than biking because the balance is very easy, and it's easy to get on and off, and it's easy to go very slow.
As a cyclist, I know that once you're up and moving, you get this natural air conditioning. And what's the experience like on an e-scooter?
Well, I love it. First of all, you get a nice breeze going, which definitely cools you down. I feel like you get a closer experience with your environment too, and the people around you, which I really enjoy. So if I'm on my e-scooter is very quiet. So if I'm tooling down the streets, I can hear the birds. I feel the breeze on my face.
And no helmet hair.
And no helmet hair. So I don't wear a helmet when I ride it. You don't wear a helmet when you walk. And I go very slow on my e-scooter, so it's a similar experience.
So if you were an e-scooter tooling down the road fast, you ought to be wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
Let's talk about helmets, because you've got a couple from your past experience.
I've had some different experiences with helmets, and read a lot of different studies, and I'm on the fence about whether I should wear one or not when I'm scooting. So here's my mountain bike helmet, which I wear when I'm mountain biking because I'm going as fast as I can on technical trails, and the risk of falling is quite high. Now here's a helmet I would typically wear if I was cycling on the road, but if I were, like a weekend warrior type of cyclist who's going like 25 miles an hour has a much higher risk of falling off and hitting their head, especially if they're riding in a pack. The risks are just much higher. Now, on my scooter, I'm typically going between 5 and 12 miles an hour. My risk of falling off is very, very low. Now, my biggest risk is from cars, but this helmet is not going to help me in an accident with a car going faster than 20 miles an hour. So they've also done studies that have shown that people, when they have to wear helmets, it reduces the likelihood of people biking or scooting to wherever they're going. Like, it makes people not want to do it. So if we want to encourage people to use these scooters as transportation, I think giving them the option of not wearing a helmet if they choose not to wear a helmet is the right way to go. For example, in the Netherlands, nobody wears a helmet on their bike. The average speed on a bike in the Netherlands is about 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's true for cycling as well.
Yeah.
Right. So, Amy, you've lived all over the world, Middle East, Europe, Midwest, and so you've been a commuter of some kind in all those places. What kind of infrastructure do we need in Boca Raton to facilitate not just these scooters, but if we're building out infrastructure for pedestrian and cycling and all these alternate modes of transportation, what do we need to consider for the e-scooter part of all that?
I think for me, what I would love to see is the same infrastructure for the e-scooter as for the bicycle commuter, a separated path, a protected path. And especially if cars are regularly going faster than 20 miles an hour, then I believe there should be a separated path for the bike and the e-scooter. But even more important than that, I believe, is the intersections. So intersections are where a really high percentage of fatalities occur, and we need protected intersections. To make it much easier for pedestrians, bikes, and e-scooters. Finally, when you're on a bicycle, momentum carrying you through is really important. If you have to stop all the time and wait at lights, it makes it a very inefficient way to travel. So places that have really successfully converted people from cars to bikes have made a system where the bikes rarely have to stop.
Yeah, I can see a lot of advantages to the e-scooter for getting around. But in Boca Raton, we have all these disconnected sidewalks and trails. So going to the library, for example, from here, the shared use path on 7th just stops. And you are in the grass or you are in the traffic. What do you do typically in that kind of situation?
It depends on if there's a car coming or not. So if there's a car coming, I'll just stay right on the very edge of the road, or I'll go in the grass. But if there's no car coming, I go out onto the road. But that intersection also poses a really big problem because on 4th, they're coming through really fast. And so people on 7th going to 4th Diagonal or vice versa have a really hard time crossing. Pedestrians, bikes, e-scooters, cars, everyone. But we really need to do something with that intersection and with that shared use trail.
But it seems to me that continuity is really important, and if you have continuity everywhere, you are facilitating a lot of these alternate modes of transport and taking cars off the road.
You are. But again, I reiterate what I say about the intersections and crossings because, you can have, like Palmetto Park, for example, has a shared use path. But it's a really wide road that's very hard to cross. So it serves as a major barrier to getting from place to place here, because I will think twice before going somewhere that's on the other side of Palmetto Park, for example.
Yeah, it's an interesting area. A lot of people talk about the biking community in terms of the hardcore Lycra wearing folks that will go out no matter what, or the really brave, and they'll go out as long as there's room. But if you look at the biking community in terms of which are the ones that are taking cars off the road, right? They're not doing it for recreation. And by building infrastructure that facilitates people commuting, that's what takes cars off the road, be it e-scooter or bicycle.
100%. I mean, when you're looking at sustainability for the city of Boca, every car trip we take off the road is making our city more sustainable. There's some data out there about how much a car trip costs a city and how much a bike trip or e-scooter trip saves a city, or a pedestrian trip saves a city. So every trip a pedestrian does, it saves the city money. And that's, first of all, because of space. Space is really important because we're dedicating so much of our urban space to parking, whereas this type of transportation saves a huge amount of space. And cost of transportation, that's another piece of it that's really important. So we've really set our younger generations at a disadvantage because in order to have a job, you have to have a car, and it's very expensive.
So let's talk about downtown.
Yeah.
All right. We all know that it's a mess for mobility, walking around. It's horrible. Do e-scooters help that problem?
I think they do. Now, obviously, on your e-scooter, you need to respect the pedestrian. I really think it's like anything else. When you're in a car, you need to respect the e-scooters, the bikes, and the pedestrians. But when you're on an e-scooter, you need to respect, because you have the option of going faster, right? And a few people that go fast on an e-scooter in our downtown ruin it for the rest of the people. So I really think they can be a great part of it, because you can get on the e-scooter to downtown without needing a parking spot. And if you go slow or get off your scooter when you're around pedestrians and respect other people, then it makes sense.
Even these like on-call electric golf carts types of services, they're on the road, stuck in traffic like everybody else, right? And it seems that an e-scooter, as hard as our downtown is, it is an incremental improvement for someone who's trying to do without a car.
Yeah.
Right. But if we just step back a minute, you can start commuting into the downtown from all of our surrounding single-family neighborhoods.
Yes, it really expands the area that can be considered walkable in our city. So we just need to provide safe infrastructure so that we can get around safely on the e-scooter. Like, for example, when I ride to Publix, we have a sidewalk most of the way, but it does force us the long route. You can't get through because there's little connectivity. So you have to go all the way around. There's only one entrance to the Publix Plaza here on Palmetto Park. And when you get to the corner of 12th and Palmetto, that crossing is terrible and it's really scary. But then second of all, when you enter by Dunkin' Donuts and Tomaso's, there's no sidewalk. And then when you get to the corner by the gas station, that corner is really scary. I just did that route with somebody that's in a mobility device the other day and watched them. And she goes in through the gas station because it's when she comes up to that corner, it's too scary for her. So she goes into the gas station. There's no sidewalk on that little street that goes into where UFIT is and the grocery store and all of that. Zero sidewalk.
Right. So, at a high level, people talk about, 15-minute cities, so you have everything walkable and you could ride to it within a small area. But here we are. We have the perfect plaza with all the services you could want, surrounded by residential areas, but you can't get there. But for 20 years, it's been like that.
Yeah, that plaza to me is a really key piece of making this area walkable, bikeable, e-scooterable. It's incredible that we have that right there. And depending on what they do with that old Kmart building, that could be a really, really amazing center for all of this residential area.
So basically what I'm hearing is by enabling our city for pedestrian and cyclists to navigate safely, we're enabling these other things like e-scooters, wheelchairs, and who knows what else is going to come along.
Yes, absolutely.
So Amy, thanks for coming on the channel today and educating us on e-scooters.
Well, thank you for having me, Les. It was awesome being here.